Another big news we're tracking here at ED India Live now. Israeli missiles have hit a site in Iran. Iran's Fars news agency says explosions were heard at an airport in the Iranian city of Isfahan, but the cause was not immediately known, post which air defense system has been activated in the province. Besides, international flights have been cancelled at Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport until 7 GMT or 12:30 IST. While several flights were diverted over the central city of Isfahan and Shiraz and Tehran cities, it is to be noted that in February, Iran had announced building of a fourth nuclear research reactor in the central city of Isfahan itself. However, Iran said its nuclear facilities remain unharmed. Over the weekend, Iran had launched hundreds of drones and missiles in a retaliatory strike after a suspected Israeli strike on its embassy compound in Syria. Most of the drones and missiles were downed before reaching Israeli territory. So far, Israel had said it was going to retaliate against Iran's April 13 missile and drone attack. And now, with the strike, request by various countries, the United Nations and others to show restraint and de-escalate the situation seems to be in vain. And in a first public comment by any Western policy maker, U.S. Senator for Florida Marco Rubio said, and I quote, "Israel has the ability to conduct strikes against targets inside Iran without entering Iranian airspace from aircraft over Syrian and Iraqi airspace." And we are now joined by Nick Harper on this developing story. Well, Nick, how do you see this whole issue now going? The whole international pressure has gone in vain and Israel has ultimately attacked Iran. Where is the situation going? Do you think is it going to escalate now?
Well, there is certainly that potential. US media here in the last 30 minutes all reporting that Israel has struck inside Iran. Various US officials speaking to US cable outlets all saying that an attack has taken place and Israel is behind it. Now, of course, the big fear has been throughout this past week since the attack at the weekend, that unprecedented attack, more than 300 missiles, drones being sent from Iran towards Israel. The fear has been that there would be retaliation from Israel itself. Of course, the United States has been pushing very hard, including in a direct phone call between the US President Joe Biden and the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, really trying to caution Israel not to retaliate, not to escalate, and instead to try and de-escalate the situation and go the route of diplomacy. The United States has certainly been urging that. We've even seen in the last 24 hours the US and the UK imposing a whole range of sanctions on Iran. The real hope was that by putting those sanctions in place, it might create some sort of leverage that would stop Israel from retaliating, choosing diplomacy rather than military action. What we've seen now unfolding inside Iran clearly shows that Israel has decided not to take that route, instead going with retaliation and striking hard within the heart of Iran.
All right. Also, Nick, US imposed new curbs on Iran's access to low-level tech. Will that make a difference?
Well, that was the hope. The United States with the United Kingdom, they were working with other G7 partners, but those were the first two countries to announce sanctions. The hope was that by putting those in place, it would send a strong message, not just to Iran, but also to Israel as well, that allies have the back of Israel and that they were working behind the scenes diplomatically, economically, to try and curtail Iran's efforts. Those sanctions were targeting drone manufacturers to prevent Iran from stockpiling drones, from creating drones, but also cutting them off from companies around the world that were creating drones, and also targeting steel manufacturers within Iran. The hope there was to prevent Iran from exporting steel and creating revenue that then drone could be pumped into their drone-making program. That was the plan from the United States and the UK, and we were expecting later on Friday, when the G7 meeting with foreign ministers wraps up in Italy, more sanctions to be announced. The hope was that that would prevent Israel carrying out this strike. But as we've seen, that clearly has just not been the case.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for that update.